Hey everyone, this is Tanya from House and Home Creations. Thank you for watching my video and checking out my channel. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe and press the bell button for all future notifications. Today is a special video which I want to dedicate to Abby and Libby, who were murdered in Delphi, Indiana back in 2017. This case remains unsolved. However, these two beautiful young women deserve to be remembered, so I wanted to dedicate this video to them. So what you're going to need is a boxed cake mix, any flavor that you like. I'm choosing to use vanilla, and I'm just going to prepare these cupcakes based on the package instructions, which essentially is 3 eggs, some milk, and some vegetable oil. So we'll crack those eggs into the mix. Try not to get any eggshells in there, but if you do, I don't think anybody will notice. And add a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. And then I'm gonna add 1 cup of milk. You can also use water, it's your choice. And just mix it up. So basically I have 2 tins of cupcake wrappers. I know on the box it says that this makes 24 cupcakes, but to be perfectly honest with you, I've rarely ever gotten more than 20 cupcakes out of a box. I don't like to be skimpy and make tiny cupcakes, so that's probably the reason. In this case, I actually found these really pretty cupcake liners from Wilton, and they are actually a little bit larger than standard size, so I'm thinking that I'm probably only gonna get 16 cupcakes out of this mix. So I lined 2 pans with cupcake liners, and then I'm just going to fill them up a little bit more. And then we'll place them in the oven at 325, based on the instructions on the packaging, usually 12 to 15 minutes, depending on how hot your oven gets. I usually like to set it a couple of minutes less than their recommended time, just because I don't want to overcook my cupcakes. You know they're done when you press the middle and they bounce back slightly, because once you remove them from the oven, they will continue to bake for another few minutes. So you definitely don't want to overbake these cupcakes and create a dry cupcake. Most importantly, you want to be able to distribute the batter equally amongst all the cupcake liners, because you don't want some cupcakes to cook quicker than others. Okay, and then I like to just drop the tray down a couple of times just to get out any extra air bubbles that might be trapped in there. And once that is done, they are ready for the oven. So now that the cupcakes have been removed from the oven and are cooling, we can move on to making our buttercream frosting, which is very simple, very easy recipe to follow, and it is absolutely delicious, and it is not too sweet. So what you're going to need is a cup of butter or 2 sticks, and you're going to place those in your KitchenAid mixer or your handheld mixer if that's what you have. And you're going to whip this butter until it is white. It actually changes color. Out of the package, it's a shade of yellow, but once it's whipped, it will actually turn a shade of white or an off-white. So that's what about 30 more seconds. And then we're going to be adding 4 cups of icing sugar gradually. We don't want to throw it in there all at once, or you're going to have a big icing cloud and icing everywhere, and I do not recommend it because it is not fun to clean. You can, however, as you're adding the icing sugar, use a hand towel and cover your mixer so it helps contain the dust or the particles from the icing sugar if you'd like to do that. So I'm just going to slow it down, and I'm going to add a cup of icing sugar at a time. We're gonna add 4 cups in total, but we're gonna do 1 cup at a time. And while that's happening, we then wanna add a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And this is going to help blend everything together nicely, add some really nice flavor. You could use other extracts if you prefer, but vanilla is usually my preference. So we'll slowly add that. And then you have the option of adding 2 tablespoons of milk, or what I actually prefer to use is coffee cream. I just find it a little bit richer and it gives a really nice consistency, but again, you can use regular 2% milk if you prefer. Some people even use whipped cream, but I prefer to use coffee cream. So I'm just gonna add 2 tablespoons of coffee cream. And let that incorporate. And once that's all in, I can then turn up my KitchenAid and really let my frosting whip and get nice and light and airy. I can let that whip for a couple of minutes. And if you do find that the thickness of your your icing is still a little too thick for your liking, you can always add a little bit more coffee cream or milk, but add it very slowly, a little bit at a time, because it doesn't take much to loosen your icing, and then it becomes unpipeable. So you want to be careful about how much you add. So as you can see, we have a really nice consistency to our buttercream frosting. It's very nice and light. It's a nice white color. It's very pipeable. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to remove some of the icing from the bowl, because I do want to have some pink and some white for the frosting for the top of my cupcake. So I'm just going to remove some icing so that I can color some pink. Just want a nice pretty pink, nothing too dark. And there we have a beautiful pink frosting for our cupcakes. Perfect. So as you can see, we have a beautiful pink shade for our cupcakes. I can just blend any white that's left in the sides of the bowl in. And now we have a beautiful shade of pink to work with, as well as our white. So what we're going to do, what I like to do, is I'm going to use the flower tip. You can use whatever tip you like, but this is my preference, and I like the larger tips because I definitely want the icing to flow out easily. And so what I'm going to do is take an icing bag, and I'm going to place the tip inside. I don't have a coupling for this. I don't really need one. Just place the tip inside the bag is perfectly fine. And then set your bag inside of a cup. And just curl the edges over the cup. And this way it makes it a lot easier to spoon the icing into the bag. I just find that this works really nicely. And then what you're going to do is, I want to do basically a spiral of 2 colors, pink and white. So I'm going to take my pink frosting and I'm going to try my best to only put it down half of the bag. So keeping it on one side only and pressing it inside the bag the best that I can. And then what I'm going to do is go in with my pink frosting and try to put that down the other side of the bag. And just push that in. And that way, when we go to pipe, we'll get these really nice swirls of pink and white. Okay, so what we're going to do is get our cupcakes. And I always like to do an element of surprise in my cupcakes. So I have an extra tip that I find is the perfect size to dole out the center of the cupcake. So just push it halfway down, turn it around, and then what I like to do is just use the end of a thermometer and just push it out of the bottom, and then you can go ahead and do the next one. And just pop it out of the bottom and do the next one. Nicely together. Okay, so now that I have them all doled out, I'm just going to take my finger and push it down just a little bit more, just to give myself some space for a filling. Now, I found these really cute wafers at the store. Basically, they look like this. Bag of wafers. It's hazelnut chocolate. I thought, wow, that would actually be a really nice filling for the center of the cupcakes. You could also put pieces of Kit Kat. You could also use Hershey Kisses. The nice thing about the Hershey's, you can use them to adorn the top of the cupcake as a decorative item, or you can hide it inside. So I've decided to use the wafers as the inside surprise, but I also wanted to add a little bit of strawberry jam for the red element that will go so nicely with the Valentine cupcake. So I'm just filling some jam inside the crevice or the hole. And I don't want to go too full because I want to be able to push my wafer inside of there as well. Okay, so now that I've got my strawberry jam in there, I'm going to go ahead and place my wafer cookie on the top, and that'll kind of seal in the jam. And there we go. Okay, so 16 cupcakes that are ready to be iced. Now, decorating the top of the cupcake, there are so many different options. You can be as creative as you want or as simple as you want. Like I said, I wanted to have some pink and white icing swirls, but I also want to keep it relatively low because I want to adorn the cupcakes with a few other options. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pipe some icing, keeping it relatively low on the cupcake. And as you can see, the white and the pink look absolutely beautiful together. So as you can see, the pink and the white swirl looks very beautiful on these cupcakes. And I really like these cupcake liners. They really add a nice element, just having the flared edges and being able to make a slightly larger cupcake. So I really do like these. And I actually found them at the Looney store. They were only $2 for 24, and it was actually a really good find. Okay, so now that our cupcakes are iced beautifully, what we want to do is decide how we want to decorate them. I found these really pretty suckers at the store and decided to use some chocolate chips and just put them inside of a piping bag and just clipped off the end very slightly to make a very small hole. I put this in the microwave for a minute and a half. I rotated the bag several times and it made a really nice pipeable chocolate that I then took and put the initials A and L. So just place the sucker inside of the cupcake. Keep in mind that there's a wafer inside of there, so you will need to just keep it set back a little bit so it doesn't interfere with the wafer. And just push it down, and it creates a really pretty cupcake with the initials of the girls. As a final touch, you can also adorn your cupcakes with a little bit of chocolate drizzle by simply heating up the chocolate that's in the bag and just slowly adorning your chocolate with a little bit of drizzle just to add a final touch. And there you go. Beautiful cupcakes that represent Libby and Abby, two beautiful young ladies who lost their lives way too soon. You are loved, you are cherished, and you will always be remembered.